everyone, my name is Kathy Croning and I'm here today for Amy Howard at Home. I'm from Broken Roads Furnishings. We are getting ready to transform this about 1990s kitchen card into something that looks amazing in 2022. So the first thing I wanted to share with you about it, this is the golden oak, kind of classic golden oak color. You can see these pretty commonly found out on Marketplace or in a thrift store for not too much money. If you're looking for something that's versatile storage for your kitchen, or if you have a smaller kitchen, or even if you're looking for like a bar cart or entertainment center, this is a great option. And it doesn't take a whole lot to transform this, so this is exciting to see how this is going to all turn out in the end. The top has been sanded down by my lovely, amazing husband. It is bare wood at this point, so today we're going to be using Amy's gel stain on top of it. I'm looking for like a warm top. The good thing about the gel stain is that if I don't quite like the color, I want it more depth, I can add another coat. Or if I want to tone it to a different, like a grayish end of the brown warm side, we can do a gray base on top of this. So we'll see how it turns out. We'll just take it a step at a time. And then also, of course, any project that I always start, I use clean slate first. It's pretty simple. You just put a little bit on a rag, and a clean rag, and then you just wipe everything down really well. You wait 10 minutes, and then you can start painting your project. And the paint today that I've selected for this particular cart is Amy Howard's one-step paint in Weybridge white. It's kind of a warm white, very versatile, goes with a lot of different colors, very good at a complementary white. And so then in the end, hopefully having some kind of a warm antique, maybe rubbed brass hardware on it. So this would be really neat to see the end result. All right, let's get started. Okay, for the sake of time, I went ahead and cleaned most of this card, but I just wanted to show you how simple this is. Basically pour a little bit on the rag, 1, 2, that's about what I count, 1, 2, 3 maybe. And then you just take it and rub it across all of the surface areas. Get it nice and clean. And we're gonna let it dry 10 minutes and then we can start doing our painting. But I just also wanna show you this, look at this. This just came off this card. Can you see that? What a great way to remove all the oils, waxes, all the dirt, grease, anything that's been sitting on here for quite some time. It's good to get it all cleaned off and have this great surface prepped and ready to go for the one-step paint. Okay, this is a pretty simple process. I did pull out my drawer just to make it a little bit easier for me to work with. This lower drawer anyway. And I started my paint and we are ready to go. I have Amy's 1.5 inch nylon brush. It's a good brush to use for your one-step paint. And just, dip it in a little bit, goes a long ways with her paint. So take a little bit out and then I try to go with the grain of the wood because it makes it a little bit more finished looking when we're all done. And this is going to take 2 coats just to get this taking a good coverage. Okay, I'm getting ready to start the top of the card. I finished the base now in 2 coats of Amy's one-step paint in Weybridge white. And so for the top here, I've selected the gel stain in hazel mahogany. I love this color, very warm on the darker side of brown. With this top, I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. We'll put this first coat on, and if we need a second one, like I said earlier, we'll go ahead and apply that, or if I want to change the tone, I might add a gray to it. So we'll see what happens. It smells wonderful. I love this gel stain. And it's a pretty simple process as long as your top is clean and ready to go. And it doesn't have to be a sanded top. The really neat thing about her gel stains are you can put this over an existing varnish or an existing stained top. Sometimes I might need a light sanding, but after that, beyond that, it really is just a matter of applying this gel stain and then making sure it's on evenly, letting it dry, and decide if you need a second coat or a third coat, sometimes depending on how dark you want it. And then of course protecting it when you're finished. So I'm taking Amy's 2.5-inch chip brush. I love this brush. I use this for a lot of even my own one-step painting that I do because it's so versatile and I like the way it feels in my hand when I use it. It's a pretty simple process. Just running the gel stain down the piece. And when I am finished applying the first coat, I'm going to wipe it off just to see what the color looks like when I'm finished, and then make a decision after it dries if I want to do a second coat or even change the color. I really like how this is turning out right now. It's so easy to use. Another really neat thing about Amy's gel stain is cleanup. You're not using oil-based products, so it's just basically soap and water just to clean your brushes out. And I really like that about it as well. Okay, I finished my top. The gel stain is on, and I took a soft, kind of damp cloth and just went over it lightly to kind of level out the color. I really like it. This is a butcher block sort of top, so it is a little bit rustic, which is pretty cool. So that gives me an opportunity to do something to the base that will also blend in with that rustic feel and maybe give it some flash hardware anyway. So I'm looking forward to that part. We're gonna let this dry for just a little bit and then we'll get started on the base. Okay, now that the top is finished, I've decided, since it's just a little bit rustic with this sort of cutting board feel to the top of it, I'm going to go ahead and glaze the bottom, give it a little bit of a rustic look with some depth to kind of complement that top as well. So what I've chosen to make my glaze with is Amy's Glazed Over, which comes in this can here, water, and then of course some one-step paint. And this is the Manor Gate. This is the color that I've chosen, which I'm going to make the glaze with, and I'll start applying to the piece itself, the base part. This is easy. Again, 1, 1, 1. That's all you need to remember is 1 part of the one-step paint, 1 part glazed over, and 1 part water. And just mix it together. And a lot of people apply it different ways. It depends on the piece for me and what I can do with a brush compared to maybe a sponge or even just a towel. So it just depends on the piece itself. In this one in particular, I'm going to go ahead and just use her 1.5-inch chip brush to apply, starting with the drawers, and then we'll go to the doors and the base piece itself. I will get that started. I have mixed it up together and we're going to start glazing. Okay, another thing that I like to keep with me is a lint-free cloth. The good thing about this is after I apply the glaze with the brush, I can go back over it and just wipe off what I don't want to keep on there and just get the look that I like. So here we go. It does seem a drastic change at first because you're applying this on here, but remember you've added water and glazed over to your paint. So this is got a lot of opportunity to be moved and wiped away a little bit to get you the final look that you're going for. And I'm just going to take my towel and wipe off what I don't want. I think when this is all said and done and finished out, I'm going to also do some waxing on the edges just to give it even more of a rustic feel. And there we go. It's a little bit hard to tell here in the picture. I'll try to pull it up here a little bit closer so you can see some variation in the color there. That is definitely coming from the glaze, and when it dries, it'll obviously be a little bit darker and more clear to you. And when you add the final waxing to the end of it, it really brings out that color. So this will be really, really cool when it's finished. We are almost finished with our kitchen cart. There are 2 steps left. The first one I'd like to do is the matte sealer. I'm going to cover the entire piece with that, all surfaces, the doors, the drawers, the top, and all the base features. With 1 coat of matte sealer, we're going to let that dry. I'd like to let this dry at least a couple of hours, and then we're going to go ahead and add on top of that, just for some luster and extra protection, Amy's Mind Your Own Beeswax. Great product, also simple to apply as well. Both of these will be applied with Amy's brushes. The first one I'm going to use a nylon brush for the matte sealer to apply. And then the second one that I'm going to use is Amy's chip brush for the wax. Then the wax, usually about 20 to 30 minutes is what you need for it to start getting tacky. After that, you can buff it, but I really like to wait overnight for mine. When I wait overnight, it's a little bit easier to buff out. And then once you buff it with a clean, lint-free, dry rag, it comes out with a nice little sheen, and that just finishes off the piece. So after that, we'll add some hardware and we'll see the end result. Okay, I'm getting ready to start applying the matte sealer onto the top of this bar cart, this kitchen cart. I always want to thoroughly fill my brush with the sealer. Again, it's water-based, so this is going to wash out of your brush very easily with just soap and water. And you always want to go with the grain wherever possible when you're applying the sealer. This dries very matte. It's a very clean look when it's finished. Adds like an imaginary, let's call it an invisible line of protection onto your finished piece. So one trick I have learned is to always just put it on, and once you move past that section, you're gonna let it dry, and then you'll go back over it again if you need to do another coat. I would not recommend letting it dry a little bit and then trying to go back over it with your brush, as it can cause some uneven finishings. So you want to just apply your coat, move on to the next section, and finish it out that way, and then take a look at it after the thing is completely dry, after your piece is completely dry, and then you can determine if you want to add another coat. When you're applying the matte sealer to the base, to any painted area, you just want to go along with your brush the same way that you would if it were the wood grain direction. And in this case, I did, if you remember, add a glaze to it, so I'm going in the same direction as the glaze was applied. Just for sake of consistency, it'll look a little bit better this way. Just one thin coat, and let it dry. And again, if you feel like you've missed a spot and you want to go back over it later, wait till it's completely dry and then touch it up. After this is dry, a couple of hours, I can go back with my Mind Your Own Beeswax, apply that, and then I'm gonna wait 24 hours because that's my preference. You definitely don't have to do that. With Mind Your Own Beeswax, you can wait 20 to 30 minutes and start buffing when it's starting to get tacky. Depends on the humidity in your area, things like that. But I prefer to wait 24 hours, and then I'll buff it out the following day. Okay, we've applied the matte sealer and we've let it dry, and now I'm getting ready to put on Amy's Mind Your Own Beeswax. So you just need to shake this up really well, and when you're ready to go, I like to actually put a little bit of it on a piece of cardboard, just like that, and then take my brush. I've got this 1.5 inch chip brush of Amy's, and then just run it through the wax, get some on there. And just start brushing it across the piece lightly. You don't want to get a whole lot on there, like not too heavy. A little bit goes a long way with the wax. And just evenly coat it out. And again, it's probably going to be tacky in 20 to 30 minutes, which is a good opportunity to start buffing it out if you want to. I like to leave mine overnight. Just makes the buffing a little bit easier for me at that point in time. But it's fairly simple to put on, just like you would the matte sealer. And once it's finished and has come to tack, you can buff it out with a clean, dry rag. Has a nice little sheen to it. And it'll be protected and beautiful and ready for hardware. Okay, we're at the point that now the entire piece is covered with Mind Your Own Beeswax, just a nice even coat, and I let it sit overnight to dry, and I am ready to buff it. And there is another option besides using a clean, dry cloth that you can do. Also, you can use a piece of steel wool. This is what we call 4/0 or 0000 steel wool. You can use that rather than the rag if it's a little bit easier for you to work with. Just depends on the individual. Everybody has a different method or preference in their own way of doing it. So when I go to buff it, just take the steel wool or the towel, the rag, and just give it a nice little run across the top gently, and you'll already see the sheen start coming up. You can't see in the picture, but I'm going to give you guys a close-up here in just a little bit and show you how beautiful this looks. It is lovely. Nice, really nice kind of satiny finish polish on it, and just feels really super smooth like glass. I love it. So we get this finished buffed out, the rest of the piece buffed out, and then we're going to set the hardware on it and see the finished product. Here's the finished product. I think it's a great transformation from the golden oak feel into 2022 with the modern farmhouse look and style. It has a nice warm top, a warm base to it, and I did actually get to add my bling hardware. I've got this champagne bronzish kind of gold feel on the hardware here that complements the top and the base. Love it. Keeps it modern, but also traditional in style. So I'm looking forward to finding a wonderful home for this piece. And I want to thank you so much for your time today with me. Thanks for being here. And remember, if I can do this, you can too.